Good morning. Welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on YouTube. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with producer Alden Iwani. Our special guest today, the Cueva girls coach, Marisa Cogan. And coach, thanks so much for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
Coach, you got your seed on Sunday. Seeding the selection show came out. The number 5, the Cueva Bears. Well, in a rematch, you beat Las Cruces Mayfield earlier in the year, 50-48. You'll take on the Las Cruces Mayfield Trojans this Friday at 6 p.m. at the Cueva. And, 5 and 12, George Maya's Las Cruces Mayfield Trojans, or I talked a little bit about it over text. I've got the utmost respect for Coach Maya.
Mhm.
Your initial thoughts about your seeding and where you were picked as far as your seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what we were expecting and what we hoped for, given how we kind of started the beginning of the season. Um, we definitely there's good and bad things about playing against a team that you've played previously. We've played Mayfield twice this year, and you know as well as anybody that Coach Maya is just legendary down there. And so I tell my girls, I'm like, he's gonna get him ready to go. He's been here a time or two, and so we have some healthy respect, even though we technically are the higher seed. They gave us a little bit of trouble earlier in the season, so we're looking forward to it. But
Well, you also beat them 61-44, 50-48, and then 61-44.
yeah,
Coach, I don't have to tell you this. You already know this, and this is not to plant any seeds of doubt because you've been around the game for a long time, played under Abby Letts, the former Lobo at La Cueva,
mm-hmm.
and you've been around the La Cueva program around my very good friend Robert Perea, who was their coach there for a long time. Robert played at St. Pius a long time ago, and recently was even asking me to play pickup ball even like 3 years ago. And I'm like, Rob, I'm done, bro. I don't know if
I'm
Rob is still
retired.
I don't know if Rob is still playing, man, but Rob was a good player, and a good
Yeah.
guy, and I really liked him. You've been around the program a long time and around basketball. You know it's hard to beat a team three times, but it's not impossible. I'm not saying that. Your preparations and your mindset and going to game three, because there's going to be changes and adjustments that a veteran coach like Coach Maya may come out with that you're not expecting.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're really hitting the film hard this week. We are such a different team at this point in the season than we were in December and then we were in August or November. And so we're expecting them to be different too. And everybody's trying to peak at the right time and work on stuff. So we really have spent a lot of time watching our previous game film against them to figure out what worked well and what didn't. But then we're also trying to watch film on them playing teams more recently because we just know everybody evolves and improves. And so trying to really know them inside and out before we play them. And then I prepare as much as we possibly can before tip off.
Yeah, I think preparation at this time of year is important. And right now, if you look at it, your Bears are peaking and beating El Dorado and Bella Hines. I'll talk about her in a minute.
Yeah, tremendous
I
player.
called the game when she had 51 points.
Oh man, yeah.
And again, and you know what, Manny Otero is a fine coach, a great coach. But we'll talk about her in a minute. You beat
Yeah.
El Dorado 57-43, Sandia 71-48, and then Farmington. You edged Farmington. The Antitalelu sisters are amazing. They're going to
Mhm.
spread the floor. They're threats wherever they're at, and they know each other like clockwork. If they drive and kick, they know what each other is. So talk about a little bit about that game. That was a close one there, and you had lost to Farmington on the 17th of February, 55-40, and you
Mhm.
turn around a couple of weeks in Farmington and beat them. Talk a little bit about that victory.
Yeah, I mean, the same way we talk about it's tough to beat a team like Mayfield three times. We kind of had that mindset on the other side when we went up to Farmington. They had beaten us twice, and we said like, guys, we know what we can work on. We know what we can do better, and we made a game plan, and our entire team really executed it all season. We've been talking about trying to peak at the right time, and if our offense isn't falling, kind of really relying on our defense. And we've got a lot of great kids that have all bought in and have been unselfish and done all that. And so we played a really strong defensive game up there, and then took us a little while to get going offensively, but it worked out in the end for us.
One possession game.
Yeah, we won by 1 point. Yeah.
And I think people don't understand sometimes last possessions can come down to a bounce, a call, an unbelievable shot. We've seen that all weekend long in college men's basketball. You've seen guys hitting 60-footer. Arizona State beat Arizona.
Yeah.
A women's game, a girl came off a screen and hit a last second shot. So
Yeah.
last second, talk a little bit about last possession games in the huddle. because sometimes I always say that when I'm announcing, when I have a colored person, hey, what's going on inside the huddle? Talk a little bit about that without revealing any strategy you have.
Well, I in that game specifically, I'd actually used most of my timeouts in the first half, like trying to keep it close. And we do a lot of stuff. We, like I said, we watch a lot of film throughout the season, and we do situations in practice. And so I try to really give the kids some ownership of, hey, what would you guys do here? So that way I can get a feel of what they're thinking, because we didn't really have an opportunity to call timeouts at the end. And so I'm kind of just telling them, hey, remember that practice where we did this play? This is what we're gonna do. Or if we score here, this is what we're gonna do. And I try to remain as calm as I can, even though my blood's pumping, just because I want to make sure that they are calm. But this last one was very fitting for us. It was a last second possession, but it was a last second steal, and we're really focused on defensive team. And so to win the game on a steal was huge for us. And so we talk mostly about what each kid can do in that last moment, and that's kind of how we go through it in the huddle.
And not too much time to do it. And I think the best coaches are calm in a huddle, and they know the situational basketball. There's a little bit of nerves because you see the clock, you hear the fans, people are chirping behind, right? You got to drown. I used to say that when I officiated high school basketball. I had to have laser focus on what's going on the floor. So inside the huddle in those last possessions, we have to understand, it's a one-on-one, who we going to foul if we need to foul, where's the possession arrow pointing. There's so many things to think about inside of last huddle. And I think the best coaches do the best job of managing that in the last couple of seconds without panicking and conveying any kind of panic to their team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we talk to you all the time about what would you do in this situation here, and what would you do, like when we go scout other teams, I'll ask them, all right, coach, what would you do to the players? Just because I think if they have that coach's mentality on the floor, it makes my job so much easier. And this group that I have has really bought into that. They're a pretty special group of kids.
Sometimes I think too, you lost to Farmington twice, and winning at home is fun. I know winning at home is fun, but winning at home or winning on the road, it's especially when you've lost twice to them. I can only imagine how pumped up your team was, because when you go in there, Farmington's a good team. They're very good. You have to guard the shooters. They're hard to guard. You have to have your defensive principles and stay with them. And there's the bracket we're looking at right now. And we mentioned you've got Las Cruces Mayfield on Friday, and there looks to be some good matchups out of that. So Volcano Vista taking on El Dorado. You'll play the winner of Carlsbad and Cleveland. Susan Kabbalah does such a good job at Cleveland, the former Sandia coach. There's a look at the bracket for everybody that's watching. Coach, we mentioned Bella Hines, defending Bella Hines. Now, I talked to Coach Manny Otero, and I have the utmost respect for Coach Otero, as I do you or any high school coach that has to defend that. My observation is she's averaging 30. She got 51 against West Mason. It wasn't as if they weren't playing defense. They did. When she gets a full head of steam and she's one-on-one, very tough to stop. She's going to split double teams. She'll get to the line, and she'll step back and make unbelievable three-point shots. How did your team defend her?
I mean, she's obviously one of the best talents to come out of New Mexico that I've witnessed for sure. I mean, she's an incredibly talented player. What I tell the game plan we kind of use with my girls is I have some really talented, especially on the defensive side of the floor, with Eva Love, Olivia Haddock. Like, they love to kind of grind and take on that role to try to stop these better players that we play against. But our mindset is just to make them make incredible shots. So like when we play these girls like the Bella Hineses that are so talented, we say, you know what, we know you're going to score some points, but you're going to have to shoot over us every time. And you're going to have to do some falling over crazy acrobatic shots. And she gets hers, she makes them, but we try to eliminate all the easy ones and the ones that we can control and force her to really make those amazing shots. And she does get some, but we've been fortunate that it has not been enough to beat our team this season. But I mean, it's every game we're trying to find a new wrinkle of how we can play some defense against these girls. There's some talent in our district for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I've watched high school basketball here for a very long time, and there's no doubt she's a very, very talented player. And as she goes, that team beat them by one in one of your games, and another last possession game, and that must have been a little bit of a nail biter.
Yeah, that was in the Metro tournament. My girl Eva Love had just gotten hurt, And she's one of our top defenders. Like I said, her and Olivia really take on like whatever player we have, especially if they've got a little bit of size. They're like, we want them. And so not having Eva definitely was an adjustment for us originally defensively, but then the rest of my team really stepped up, and so we made adjustments coming back. And I think Eva was playing in those next 2 times that we played El Dorado.
Eva loves me, man. She's me.
Oh yeah.
Well, I like that. I like that aggressiveness. She's going to play very, very hard, and talk about that a little bit. You know, you were without her for a number of weeks. Those high ankle sprains. I tore my ligaments when I was a junior at Highland, and I played the next week. It was the stupidest thing I could have ever done. You know, it was dumb. After the game, my ankle, swelled up. But talk a little bit about Eva Love, her importance to your team, and how you weathered the storm without her for a while, because now she's back. And sometimes those high ankle sprains will not heal fully until the season's over. But talk a little bit about how you weathered the storm without Eva Love.
I mean, one of the things I'll give her full credit as well with this. It's been all of our team has been so unselfish all season. We sat down for day 1 with our group of 12 girls, and we said we really think we have an opportunity to make a run at this thing because we're so talented 1 through 12. But we're gonna have to play unselfish to get there, and they have totally bought into that mindset. And because she was so willing to share the ball, and we have so many other girls who are so athletic and talented, that without her, it definitely exposed some things that we needed to work on. But our girls really like dug in deep and worked on those things. And now that she's back, it's just added to the success that we were kind of having. And so like her being so bought in while she was injured preseason, making sure everyone got touches and that kind of stuff helped us, because we have so much other talent that adding her talent on top of what we have otherwise just makes us that special of a team. We have so many girls that are multi-sport athletes, and so we're getting them into the season. They're maybe not like, they're a little rusty, that kind of stuff, but then once they get going, it makes us hard to guard, I think.
That's the key, I think, is hard to guard. If you're the other coach, George Maya, who I love to death. I had George on the show last year, and I told you I reffed his state championship game one time, and I still remember George, the hair and the glasses. The gyrations on the sideline are enough to make anyone laugh. And he's not a bad guy. He's just coming from passion. So, I think that's going to be a great match. Like I told you, I'm lucky to have the call on Friday for that game. I'm looking forward to that. Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this season's version of the 2022-23 the Cueva Bears after these messages on the Sports Desk.
It's 61 earlier this year. But Hope with a steal and a bucket. Noah Perry puts Hope on the board first. Full court press.
Lovato gets his second bucket. He's reared his head down and put it up for 2 with the left hand. 8-4, there's a bucket and 1. Cruz with the bucket.
Some of them are in khakis. Here's the offense. 3-point basket by number 1 is good. And we are tied with 4 seconds left.
Charlie, 5 quick turnovers. I'm sure Coach Otero. There's 6 right here.
Another bucket, and that is Antalelu.
Hill in the corner. Buries a 3. Andrew Hill with 17 points. Under 50 points.
48 seconds left. Back door to Stanford. Scoops and scores. Lays it in.
What a pass was that?
No, Storm fan want a foul. Instead, the Jags end up with the ball. Morris pulls up 3, puts it down. Back-to-back threes. across him.
Under his legs on the pass. What a dime from Kellen Garris to Justin Mass. That's going to be on the top 10. Under his legs.
Now again.
Can't foul here if you're Pius. Ball goes to Estrada. He'll put up 3. And it goes in at the buzzer. Damian Estrada closes the game out for Valencia. And stay tuned.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Sometimes it's the small things that make life easier, like never worrying about being declined at an ATM when only cash will do. With You're Covered from US Eagle, we'll cover you, even if the money's not there. That's a good feeling. And we do it with no extra fees or penalties. It's called trust, and we think that's important, especially if we're asking you to trust us. At US Eagle, that's just part of what it means when we say, people mean more.
After the holidays, it's challenging to see the bills come in. If you or someone you know needs help paying your P&M bill, we can help. Limited income customers may qualify for part or all of their past due electric bills to be paid, thanks to the P&M Good Neighbor Fund and the generosity of fellow New Mexicans and P&M shareholders. If you don't qualify for the program and need extra time or payment options, P&M can help. Visit pnm.com/billhelp.
P&M are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Hello, my name is Staff Sergeant Kevin Stanger. I wanted to let you know that when you join a team like the New Mexico Army National Guard, you will always have teammates to give you support. You will have the chance to serve your country and community, all while earning some amazing benefits. Benefits such as tuition assistance, world-class job training, and getting paid while attending college. So don't miss your shot at an amazing future.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
We fight the battles no one hears about.
We drop into the middle of firefights to rescue others.
And act as one-man air traffic control towers.
We're the ones who go before all others.
U.S. Air Force Special Warfare are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk, live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on YouTube. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Our very special guest today, the Cueva girls head coach, Marisa Cogan. Her Bears will take on, her 5th-seeded Bears will take on the 12th-seeded Las Cruces Mayfield Trojans Friday at La Cueva at 6 p.m. And, Coach, we talked in the first segment about your schedule, some of the teams that you beat, and your big win. You also had a big win against Sandia, 64-57, and Sandia, 2 wins against Sandia. And Sandia is an impressive team. Mm-hmm. You've got some good wins on your schedule, hence the 5 seed. NMA, I'm sure, took that into account. There's some great pictures that you sent us, and you asked me what kind of pictures, and just team pictures of you coaching. There's one, and we'll see it in a minute, when you're on the bench with one of your players. I thought that was a great picture because it epitomizes coaching. Sometimes it's it's a moment with one player, and that player remembers that. You said, it's a player could have a bad moment, a bad game, and there it is. And there it is right there. And you're just, hey, console him. And what player is that, Coach? Do you remember the coach?
Yeah, Eva Love, she got hurt last year in our district championship tournament game here at home against Farmington. And she landed funky, hurt her knee, and was pretty upset because it was right before the state tournament. And she ended up being able to play. And so she played with us through that, but she didn't know what was going to happen after she had to get MRIs and get checked out and all that kind of stuff. So she was pretty upset.
I did that game last year. I remember calling that game, and that was a heck of a game. Big fan audience. Farmington traveled well. They brought a lot of people that day, and it was very, very entertaining. I'm going to read a little scouting report, and this is courtesy of my very good friend Corley Ayers, Alexis Ayers' father. And so talented freshman Jordan Dyer has been leading scorer for the squad with about 13.5 points a game. They've got 3 seniors who have stepped up this year to add some depth and toughness as well. Point guard Alexis Ayers, his daughter, has stepped up in a major way since district, averaging 13 points, 2.5 steals, and about 2.8 assists per game. Olivia Haddock, a lefty who's tough driving to the basket, great defender. Before district started, the team lost their talented junior Eva Love, which allowed the team to step up and find themselves as a team instead of relying on just one person. This team's first 5 or 6 players can easily average double figures as a team when they play together. And that's, again, from my very, very good friend, Corley Ayers, Alexis Ayers' father. And thanks to him for that scouting report. I haven't been able to see too much of the Bears. Tell me, go from there. Is my good friend right about the assessment of the Bears?
Yeah, I mean, so we've been rotating 6 girls as starters, which we know is a little bit unorthodox. My coaching staff and I met, and we were like, you know what, these 6 girls all bring us something different and a different look. And so based on who we're playing and what matchups we have and stuff like that, we've been rotating through those 6 players because each one of them has had different moments in the season that they've stepped up and been the big one that hit those game-winning shots. Like, for example, when we were up in Farmington, Tony Lucero, she's a junior. She great softball player, but she's been one of those rotating starters with us, and she hit the 2 threes that put us up against Farmington. And then when we had that 1-point game against El Dorado, Olivia Haddock she comes out of the game kind of injured, tells me, hey, I popped my rib out of place, but the trainer put it back in, goes in and scores 20 points. And then Eva Love can drop 20 on any night. Jordan Dyer's averaging a double-double throughout the second half of the season. Carly Gutierrez, we tell her all the time, we're like, sometimes we can't, like, she'll have a 4-point game or she'll have a 15-point game. And we're like, either way, we can't take you off the floor because of everything else that you do. So, like, all of those girls, in addition to the other girls that come off the bench, they all have a different impact based on who we're playing in the situation. And I think that's what makes this team special.
You're able to rotate in a lot of different players. Mm-hmm. And Corley and I always talk about, like I said, I told you we used to play a lot of basketball against each other. And I remember the twins when they were little. And Exodus Ayers cast such a large shadow. Mm-hmm. Exodus Ayers transferred to a school in New Hampshire, all Metro, all whatever he was out there, All-American. The guy's a phenomenal athlete. And his other brother, Xavier, was a junior college All-American at Western New Mexico. So Corley Ayers is a fine athlete himself. So he comes from athletic genes. And so I always ask Corley about Alexis because you don't want her to be left out. He's a good friend of mine, so I always want to make sure, hey, Corley, how's Alexis doing? And, and last year I thought she played very well for you. And this year it's a different role for her.
Yeah, I mean, last year we had a really great point guard in Riley Ottman. She was a senior. She was a good leader. And so Lex and her, like, they kind of went back and forth. And, of course, with high school girls basketball in New Mexico, it's not necessarily 5 specific positions. We kind of play fluid basketball. But she was really, like, eager to get more minutes. And I told her this season, I was like, it's yours for the taking. Like, if you can buy in and do all that. And she's really stepped up. She's like the biggest hype man on, like, we'll watch videos and her teammates will make a 3 and she's pumped up. But then she'll go in there and, like, we need a bucket. She's like, I'm getting to the paint. Nobody's going to stop me. Like, she's just got that attitude of, I'm going to go do what I need to do. And then she's leading us in steals because she's like, Riley Ottman actually called me the other day and told me that texted me that she's been called a pest in her college games. And that's how I used to describe her. And that's how I describe Ayers too. Like, she's a pest. You don't want her guarding you when you're trying to dribble because she's just, like, in there and aggressive. And so she's definitely stepped up big time too.
That first dribble defense, which is very important. And you have someone like that guarding you, and you think to yourself, I'm going to use this move, and they're right there, and then they're right there, the diagonal defense, and it does unnerve some players and causes turnovers, causes disruption, and that's what you want to do is disrupt other people's offense. And I remember watching her last year. But you mentioned you have a lot of Alexis Ayers, Eva Love, Tony Lucero hit that big shot, Olivia Haddock, Jordan Dyer. Carly Gutierrez last year I thought was pretty tough. So you've got a lot of different players you can go to. And talk a little bit about Jordan Dyer. Her brother Devin played football. Her other brother plays for La Cueva. I told you her father, Pat, the former nose guard and New Mexico State don't play any football or basketball with that guy, man, you're lucky to come away unscathed. And I say that with affection because Pat was a very tough player. Talk a little bit about Jordan Dyer.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously a phenomenal athlete. And so coming in at the beginning of the season, it was a little bit of a learning curve just with the way that I like to do things. But the thing about her that's so awesome is she's like one of the hardest workers, and she's so athletic that if she puts her mind to something, she'll figure it out, and she'll figure it out quickly. And so we were telling her, like, hey, this is the scheme we're going to run here, or this is the offense we want to run here. And she wants to win. She's a competitor, and she's athletic and talented. And so she was like, all right, coach, I'll do it. And totally has bought in. And I tell these girls all the time, I'm like, as much as we value scoring, for me, rebounding, steals, deflections, all that stuff's important. And she said, okay. And now she's averaged a double-double since we had that conversation. Like, she's just so hardworking and so like respectful and talented that when you give her a task, she'll try to make sure that she makes it happen, which is an awesome thing to have, especially coming out of a freshman.
Now, that's what I was just going to ask you. Only a freshman averages 12.9 points per game, and back in the day, there was thoughts freshmen couldn't compete. Now it's a norm now. Back in the day, people were like, "Oh, freshmen, they can't play; they're not strong enough." And now 8th graders have become eligible; they're competing at some levels. She averages 12.9 points per game. Carly Gutierrez 7.1, Olivia Haddock 8.1, Tony Lucero. Let me see. Lucero averages 4.7 points. Tony Lucero 4.7, hit that big shot for you. Eva Love 9.8. Alexis Ayers 9.9. Think about the balance. Nobody's at, okay, 12.7 is your highest. And then there's got a couple of people right on the cusp of averaging double figures. Tony Lucero at 4.7. She hit a big shot. So it sounds to me like people know their roles, and no one's afraid to step up if they need to take that big shot.
It's been, there's sometimes where like I'll doubt it a little bit because I'm sitting here and I'm going, am I holding some of these girls back? Because most of them probably could average double figures if I let them, and not selfish in a bad way, but take more shots and do all of that. But we try to drill home sharing the ball and finding mismatches with other teams and stuff like that. And this group has been so special and so willing to do that every night it can be somebody different. Like I mentioned that Olivia Haddock had 20 against Eldo that one night. Tony Lucero had 14 against Volcano when we beat them early in the season. Lex had 25 against one of our district rivals here at La Cueva recently. Like Jordan Dyer now starting to average, like she's had some games where she's had 20, somewhere she's had 8. Like my scoring is super balanced, and I know that they get frustrated sometimes, but they want to win more than they want like the personal stuff. And I think that's why our scoring is so balanced and gives us opportunities for girls that aren't averaging 20 to hit that last second shot or hit the game-winning shot, which has been awesome for this group.
You want team chemistry. You want that winning attitude, and it sounds like you definitely got it. Coach, we got about a minute left, and this is a tough bracket. There's some good teams here: Volcano Vista, Farmington, Sandia. There's some very good teams here. Rio Rancho, Lori Mabry back. It's great to have Coach Mabry back. I have such respect for her. I've seen her call timeouts even when they're winning. To work on something. Timeout. I mean, I've got such respect for her. What do the Bears have to do to advance on Friday and make a state run for that blue trophy?
We've been talking this week about just focusing on the game that's in front of us, preparing for whoever our opponent is. But at the end of the day, like we want to win every 50 ball. We want to play good defense, and we just want to execute the things that we know that are in our control. We talk about that in our locker room all the time. Control what we can control and don't stress about the rest. So our effort, our energy, being prepared, all that stuff we can control. So we're going to work on all that this week.
Coach Marisa Cogan of the La Cueva Bears, your team, your 5th-seeded Bears, will face off against the 12th-seed Las Cruces Mayfield Trojans on Friday night at 6 p.m. at La Cueva. We wish you all the best luck in the world, and thanks so much for joining us today on the Sports Desk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.